Okay, good morning everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Sam Metcalf, I'm the Midlands editor at thebusinessdesk.com, and thanks for joining today's session in conjunction with Probrand. Today we're going to be talking about gaining control of your business in what has become a chaotic world. I think it's fair that the last few months, fair to say rather, the last few months have been chaotic for most business owners. Now, thankfully, there seems to be a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. And today we're going to be providing vital information for SME owners, managing directors, finance directors who are facing a future that includes a workforce that will probably spend as much time away from the office as in it. I'm going to ask our panel to introduce themselves in a moment. Before I do that, we really want to get people in the audience involved today. So at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A button. If you, I want you to use that, and if you can ask a couple of questions of our audience today, put them on the of our panel rather, put them on the spot a bit, and we'll come to you. We'll come to those questions a little bit later and see what they've got to say. Before we start the discussion, I'm going to ask our panel to tell us a little bit more about themselves and introduce themselves to you. So first to you, Jason, please.
Morning, everyone. My name is Jason Betteridge. I'm Managing Director of Circyl. We are an information management company based in Birmingham.
Thanks, Jason. Reshma.
Hi, I'm Reshma Sheikh. I'm owner and Managing Director of Octavian Security. We have a national portfolio of 200 plus staff who are all set up to work remotely.
Thanks, Reshma. And last but not least, sorry, Charles.
Hi, I'm Charles Hassell. I'm the Managing Director of Falcon Contract Flooring. We're a national contract flooring company working mainly in the leisure industry.
Okay, thanks you three. Let's crack on with the discussion then. Think back to the dark days of late March, early April. Jason, how easy was it for business owners to feel like they'd lost complete control of their organisations back then?
I think a lot of organisations are struggling with not being actually able to see their staff physically. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of companies are very used to working from the office. Our business is very different to that, in as much as we've been remote working since we started this business 3 years ago, and before that in my previous business. But I think it's I think what's key to a lot of business owners is having the confidence that the staff are doing what it is they should be doing and what the management think they're doing. So putting some measures in place to put some controls around that is very important to understanding what people are doing.
Does that ring true with you, Charles?
Yeah, I think so. You know, we experienced 90% drop in sales. It was like literally off the cliff and gone, which obviously for any business is a massive hit. But I think what we did find, once that happened, we were in a situation where we had to act, and we had to act quickly. And I think most businesses are either prepared for that or they're not. One thing I would say about us at Falcon, we were prepared. We did have what we called was Project Storm, which was pitched back at the end of February. You only had to look around what was going on around the world to know that we were potentially going to be in a bit of bother. And so with that said, we were able to then, re-amend our business plan. We planned for a big downturn in revenue, and executed it really well, to be honest. I think, we were prepared, and that it's that plan again, isn't it? If you've got no plan, then potentially you're planning to fail, and we did have a plan. So yeah, I think for us, we learned a lot of lessons along the way as well. But yeah, it was tough, real tough, as many businesses have struggled.
Yeah, sure. Reshma, then you mentioned, like Charles, you were prepared for this, and a lot of your staff are working remotely. When did you put that into place? Was that as late as March? Or was it earlier?
No, it was earlier. So fortunately, we actually went remote working in January. So that was our complete entire head office team. At the time, it was prompted due to heating issues in the office, but we were very, very lucky because having done that, it was business as usual. Our entire team, so that includes HR, finance, control room, operations, were already set up to work remotely at home. We had measures in place, policies that were working. And as you said, yes, it was a scary time. Businesses felt like they lost control because overnight businesses shut. So just like Charles, you know, we had 2/5 of our business that overnight closed. So my biggest pressure as the owner of the business was to bring on more revenue and work. I didn't have to think about productivity. That carried on. And that's why this was a blessing in disguise, that we were already set up. We had that infrastructure. We had that protection in terms of working from home. So yes, we were okay. And not only because of that, I was able to focus on bringing more work in, but also actually, in fact, we've increased our revenue during this time because we're key workers and we've got a 24/7 operation. So we've been okay, but it was a crazy time for any business. So this was one less stress for us.
Yeah, I mean, like from my point of view, you know, the main objective for us was survivability. You know, liquidity being at the forefront of everything that we did, and every decision that we made, you know, was all about, you know, keeping liquid and how we were going to do that from a cash point of view. Because, you know, when you have that massive hit, it's such a rock to you. You know, if you haven't got that strong balance sheet in the background, then there's a good chance that, you know, you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, we've found that there's a couple of different types of organisation. I think there's an organisation like yourselves, Falcon, Charles, that have taken the decision to invest whilst you've got a bit of downtime and an ability to look at the you know, your current systems, your processes, what you're doing, and how you can make things more effective and more integrated. And then there's organisations that, like you say, are just keeping very, very close eye on their spend and generally saying we're spending nothing. The impact for us from a business perspective, from a sales perspective, we've been crazy busy because, you know, what we do for organisations is help them and enable them to work from anywhere, to measure what they're doing from anywhere. And to consume their information on their terms from any device. So you know, it's been a crazy time for us too, but so crazy in a different way, really.
Yeah, and I think you go for that, like that big hunker down approach. You know, that right, let's cover up and let's ban the hatches and try and keep people away from us. But you know, it was tough times, and we were working 18-hour days, you know, 7 days a week for what felt like months, just to try and get through it. It was tough.
These two seem to have got it sus, Jason, but you must have heard some horror stories over the last 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, I mean, we've had one customer, naming no names, that you know, have lost what they believe is, you know, some of their trade secrets, some of their IP through the compromise of information and documents. The challenge, I think, with putting you know, documents onto systems where everybody can share them and everyone can see everything. The danger is there's unscrupulous people in organisations sometimes that take that sort of freedom and open access to take information they shouldn't take away and share it with people they shouldn't share it with. Luckily, there are solutions out there to prevent that. And again, you know, we've been pretty busy in that area too. I mean, organisations are concerned with the fact that, you know, again, they can't see people behind closed doors and what they're actually doing. So yeah, you know, it's there's a lot of things going on that people are panicking about, I think.
Yeah, Reshma, how have you counteracted that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, I think that was the biggest issue, because historically, when you see someone in the office, you can see they're working. But my attitude was, if you don't trust your team, they shouldn't really be working with you. However, you can't be foolish. You need those measures in place, because we do cybersecurity, and at the moment, during COVID, there were lots of cyber threats, and although the biggest risk is your team and your employees who open up something they shouldn't have opened up. So I think Jason probably knows this, but we're very lucky that we had, you know, our own IT team who, you know, Octavian IT, who basically ensured that we had anti-malware, ransomware, anti-phishingware, we had email security filters, we had website safety. All of that was already set up. I also have remote access to be able to see what everybody is doing and what everybody is accessing. at any given time. I know it's a bit big brothery. However, there needs to be accountability, and this gave us accountability. I could see work was being done. It gave my team trust and confidence that work was being done. And in fact, my team were much more productive during the last 4 months than they've been, for the last 6 months, because we've been doing this since January, than they've been, because they've got that flexibility, that they know we trust them. So it's been good, but we've had to put a number of measures in place. I've got a long list of measures that I've put in place to protect our data, to protect our business, to protect us from outside threats and innocent threats, where people have opened up something they shouldn't have opened up, or forwarded stuff they shouldn't have forwarded on.
What have you been doing in that area, Charles? Is that something you've been looking at too?
Yeah, absolutely. From a tech point of view, yeah. It was all about how we could control our data, and access-wise, as far as allowing staff to gain access to the system externally, it's never been an issue for us. That's always been there. So, but it's been done in probably an old way from an RDS point of view over a cloud solution, which is something now that obviously I'm working with Jason on to try and build that out and put a little bit more meat on the bone around that. But I've always been very open and honest as a managing director, and I always have a lot of trust in my team. So I'm probably a little bit more flexible, where as long as they get the job done, to me, I don't need them to turn up at 8 o'clock and leave at 5. That for me, I'm not that controlling. And I honestly, from our point of view, we've seen our business, we've grown at, since 2012 over 700%. So for me, at the size of business we are now, to have that flexibility, let the staff feel comfortable. Nobody likes being micromanaged. That isn't my style. My style's get the job done, and my boot will go right up your bum if it's not getting done. And that's how it works for me. And when it's paid dividends, because people are more relaxed. So if they want to work from home, they work from home. Like I say, as long as the job gets done, I don't have a problem. The biggest issue for us was from an operational point of view, with obviously lots of installers on the road. That from a health and safety point of view was a huge issue for us. And we had to make sure that we put all the measures in place, because you might be working for main contractors in a hotel, in a nightclub, in a bar, whatever it might be, hospital. Were mainly at that point, we were doing lots of work there, and putting their measures in place was definitely tough. But we got through it, and health and safety worked their socks off, and we put all these new procedures in place, and so from a tech point of view, again, we've learned lots of lessons on what we want to now do with the field service app and everything that we're currently developing at the moment. So yeah, very good.
Sounds positive, good stuff. Jason, we talked a little bit, well, we talked quite a lot now about how you get business owners on board with this kind of thing, but how does that transfer to the staff? What should they be telling their staff, really, without thinking they're going to be snooped on, and looked at? What's the way to do that?
I mean, targets and goals are always a very, very, very level playing field for everybody, and the way that we run our business is that we win a project, and we have a target, we have a budget to work to, and all of the staff that are contributing to that project, they use a timesheet application that enables them to log their time against a particular project for a particular customer, and even more so with remote work. And if you've got many people on a project, you can rapidly put time on a project very, very quickly. So having an understanding of who's working on what task, on what project, how far through the project you are, the burn rate of the project, so how much of the time you've actually burnt against, how complete you are on that project, gives us an ability to predict if we think we're going to overrun on that or not. But it also, motivates staff to try and meet that target that they've been given. We're very empowering with our team from a perspective of getting them to give us the estimates for the tasks that they do. so that they kind of own that particular task, and they're then sort of motivated to get that done on time. I have to encourage the team to make sure they record all of their time, because what they don't like doing is overrunning on projects. So sometimes they work on projects in their own time without recording that, which is great, which is, it's good.
But nice, good for me, mate.
Yeah, but what it's all about is getting the insight to, did we say we could do this in 10 days, and have we managed to do that? And if people are doing a lot of time, off the clock, as it were, then we don't know if we've put a good estimate in or not. So it's been about measuring that and about learning, but keeping the staff motivated, I think, through open communication. We have a lunchtime sort of chit chat, open team session using Microsoft Teams, where people drop in at lunchtime if they want to. There's no sort of it's not mandatory, but we have a bit of a chit chat there, like you would do in the kitchen in the office. And then on a Friday we have a beer bus, a bit of a beer banter sort of session, where we all grab a beer and we have a sort of a social beer together on last thing on a Friday. And that seems to really work, because we're keeping the camaraderie and the team spirit going.
Yeah, that's a huge point. It's a huge point, that is. And I think one of the big things as well is, though, your team actually knowing what their role is, understanding that role definition, and understanding what that quick win looks like as well. So, how do they know that they've had a good day? I think that's such a big question. How do they know when they've had a good week? That for us is very important, so they understand that, and you can measure against that then as well. It's a lot easier to manage.
Reshma, you've been doing this in January, you said. How are you using the data that you've got to plan for the future of your company?
Well, I say majority of our staff are field-based anyway. So the data we get, we monitor literally everything. So our officers, when they're on patrol, where they're walking, real time, we'll know exactly they're ticking off boxes of what duties they're doing at the time. So at this point, I'm talking about security guards. In terms of management team, we have very clear set expectations. And just like Charles, my attitude is the client's happy and the job gets done. Don't really mind how you get it done, it's done. If you can work smarter but not harder, again, some people can finish work X amount of time, I'm happy with that as well. Ultimately, is ensuring that my clients are looked after. So yes, in terms of the field-based staff, lots of real-time data, I can see literally we've been like this for years, whereupon every single check call, every single patrol, one missed check-in if somebody hasn't got to site on time, I actually find out about that. There's a report that's given to me about that. But also my clients have access to that information, because it's all about transparency and accountability, but also it substantiates how great our teams are and what they're doing. In terms of our head office team, it's been business as usual. I've literally found it probably even better so. There hasn't been a major difference. What I do say, I agree with Jason, that office culture, I've always been very cautious of the team being lonely, because when lockdown happened, it happened fast. And it was a scary time anyway. People lost their routines and you was just stuck at home. So yes, what we've been doing, just like Jason, is having regular contact. That's the most important thing. Teams, Zoom calls have been amazing. Telephone calls, check-in calls, and I do that personally. I'll ring them and say, how's your day been? How are things? Because the last thing I want is someone to feel that they're not valued. And so keeping that engagement has been brilliant. And yeah, we're looking forward to meeting each other, because until now we've not had a big get together, what we used to do quite regularly, quite a social team. But when it's safe to do so, we will. Our teams have now gone back on the road. A few of them have, in terms of visiting our office staff, are actually site staff. But yes, we're really looking forward to a bit of normality. But I do feel my business is going to change now. We are going to be doing a lot more Zoom and team calls. We're not going to be all congregating somewhere in the country. That helps with our e-policies as well. We're not wasting money on the petrol. We're not driving. and it's helped with overheads as well. So it's a win-win on both sides. So there's going to be a balancing act and a middle ground, and I can't wait till that happens.
Thanks, Reshma. Jason, you know, we've seen plenty of people saying that they're coming back into the office. I don't know if you're in your office today.
I am actually, just for logistical reasons.
You know, how do business owners balance this if you've got, say, people working from the office 2 or 3 days a week and working from home for the rest of the time, or remotely for the rest of the time?
I mean, we're actually finding that it works extremely well. I mean, most people, most of our staff, we're fairly lucky that most of our team have got facilities to work at home, you know, home studies or a spare bedroom that they're using to work from on a more permanent basis now. And everyone's got their own private office. So, you know, a call like this, I'm sat in our office now in Birmingham, and I'm the only person in. But when you're at home, you can have an open call like we're doing now without a headset on, you know, and it's actually very, very productive. When we're collaborating, working together with either customers or together, you know, you can share your desktop so that you can see what each other are working on. We use Microsoft Whiteboard quite a lot, so we can draw the illustrations and share them in real time with customers, and it works really well. I mean, I guess the person to ask the question to really is Charles, because he's working with my team on a you know, not I wouldn't say day by day basis, but not far off at the moment because we're pretty active on a project. But you know, it's a pretty interactive experience, and I think very productive.
Yeah, it's been really good for me. Feather's drawn some lovely turkey dinosaurs for me on that whiteboard as well, Jack. So no, it's been a really good experience, and you know, I wanted to develop a system that was different. I wanted to develop a system that was unique to us, and I gave them the remit and of what I wanted to try and achieve. And today, you know, they're delivering on that no end, and that's taking the whole experience from inquiry right the way through to invoice, and then quality checks after as well. So, you know, we're going through that whole process of inventory, and I think big items for me were that we had to weigh up was that we store a lot of stock. As you can imagine, we're a national contractor. We have to, you know, we'll have like a 24-hour SLA in Manchester, London, Newcastle, where a room drops off and it's revenue for these hotels. We've got to get that room back online ASAP because they've sold it that night. You know, so we can store in excess of £1 million worth of stock. So if that's the case, then we looked at it and said, well, if we had a better inventory system where it was clocking exactly what was coming in, what was going out, what their minimum quantities look like, and really started to understand where our market, a lot of the materials can be delivered within 1 to 3 working days. So why am I holding that much stock? If I had a better platform to use, then effectively I could put £500,000 back in the bank as cash and hold £500,000 worth of stock. That meaning that I may not need as much storage as I've got as well. So, you know, technology, the technology of what I've seen so far and what we're trying to develop here, especially through Circyl, has been absolutely amazing, because you may have to invest now, but for the future, I think you'll find that it will really reward itself. And so yeah, it's been a really good experience for me working with Jason's guys.
Thank you,
Jason. Does it feel like we've sort of come 5 years in 6 months to you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was talking to an NHS customer, funnily enough, and they said, you know, it can take 3 to 5 years to adopt a new technology, and literally overnight, you know, everyone's using Teams and, you know, to collaborate, because I guess, you know, nobody's got a choice really. You know, the world must go on. And you know, we're also finding a lot of customers that have got really, really good systems, you know, but more legacy on-premise based solutions to store their documents and their data, you know, have now overnight have got to get that available to a much wider audience outside of their building. You know, and that has not only enabled us to be, you know, pretty creative with customers, but it's also enabled the customers to refresh a lot of old technology that was not holding them back, but you know, a lot of customers take the if it's not broken, let's not try and fix it mentality. But you know, COVID sort of broke everything for people overnight, you know, and that has meant we've been very busy sort of trying to help people overcome that challenge.
Do you think that some business owners think that, you know, this sort of tech is beyond them, and how easy is it to get them over that?
Yeah, the fantastic thing now using, say, a platform such as Office 365 is it's enterprise technology that's available to any size of organisation, from one user right up to, you know, infinite amount of users. So, you know, you've got the same technology at your fingertips now as a small business as you have as the enterprise customers. You know, you've got the same BI technology using Power BI, you've got Power Apps for building mobile applications, you've got you know, portals technology, you've got Teams and SharePoint, you know, and it's the same, you know, a one-man band can be using the same business intelligence solution as Barclays Bank, for sake of argument. You know, and years ago that just wasn't doable. Our skill really is in the integration and making sure that, you know, that all these different building blocks that are available to businesses seamlessly integrate into one sort of one experience for the customer. And I think that's the tricky thing sometimes. Microsoft and technology companies generally make these things look very, very easy and to do, but it's the integration that's the challenge.
Sure. Reshma, you said earlier you were lucky because you have, I know you have another firm in the group that does that kind of thing. Do you feel like you're ahead of your competitors on the tech side?
Yeah, I think we've always invested in tech and innovative products, and having Octavian IT advising us throughout of anything new that could protect us and could improve the service we provide has always been very, very helpful for us. So a lot of the stuff that Jason was saying in terms of taking advantage of the Office 365 and all the additional resources you can get from that, i.e. the SharePoint and, you know, information being stored in the correct place, etc., has been a godsend. And you're right, the integration, it will always come with some downtime. And because we'd already started the process, it wasn't difficult. I can imagine a lot of businesses at this point, when COVID happened, I knew our IT team was extremely busy, but we were always already set up for them to get remote monitoring or get remote access and give us support, because we'd done that a very long time ago. So that didn't need to be set up. We didn't need their additional resources during that time. And I'm glad that we were very proactive. And I'm glad that we've invested in all of this, because that would have just been another stress that I would have had to deal with during a very unprecedented and difficult time.
Sure. Okay, we've just got 15 minutes left. We've got a question from Matt Royal from Probrand. Just a reminder to our audience, if you'd like to ask Jason, Reshma or Charles a question, please press the Q&A button at the bottom. Matt's asking a panel, what are the key practices to follow for business owners at this time, looking to gain daily insight into their business, as many operate either both on-site or off-site, stroke working from home operations? Charles, do you want to go through that one?
What was that, sorry?
There you go. Sorry, what are the key practices to follow? So it's sort of ABC of what to follow for the business owners at this time, for the business owners who are looking to gain some insight into their business. As you know, like you operate both on site and off site.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's really important, first of all, that you understand your people, because they're obviously the biggest part of your business. And I think understanding that when you first start out is one of the biggest keys to that, because like we've always said, we can have all the clients in the world, but if we haven't got the people to deliver, then, you know, we can have the best salesman, can't we? We can have the best sales team, but if the people aren't there, then I think that's a real good starting point. So for me, when things were going really sour, I think, you know, I asked myself certain questions around, would we run a better business now than we would have 20 years ago, 10 years ago? Yes, the answer to that is yes. So it gave you a chance to potentially have a look at your business from when it all went really silent, and have a look and see what them cogs are doing, and uncover a few sheets that maybe you didn't like, and you didn't like what you were seeing. So it gave us a chance to be able to really look at that and say, well, what people do we need now? So, okay, so what is that role? What do we need? So I think that's a real big point for me. And obviously you can't avoid the liquidity factor. You know, without the cash, you know, you need to have a really good cash flow, and at this time I would say that a cash flow, a daily cash flow, is well needed, and you can't do without it. Reading into a pipeline and forecast as well, because an actual and a forecast. I think those are probably my two biggest points that you can't avoid.
Jason, that's an interesting point that Charles made, isn't it? Do you think that some business owners didn't actually know everything about their business until they started doing this?
Yeah, it's definitely the case. I mean, and being a you know, an information management BI company, you know, we pride ourselves on. I personally pride myself on if somebody asks me a question about a project or a customer, or you know, what an individual's doing, you know, that I know you know, at the click of a button exactly how a project's performing, you know, what our pipeline looks like, you know, what we're forecasting for to be billed this month, all that sort of stuff. And I think you know, some organisations we come across, it's you know, that they run on a bit of a wing and a prayer sometimes. You know, as long as things look like they're okay, then you know, at the end of the month, if we've made a bit of money, then that's great. But what we try and do is make sure that, you know, the right data is captured at the right time inside an organisation, to enable the sort of things that Charles was talking about to be sort of available at your fingertips, you know, on the road, or you know, from your desktop. It's the data really is key to making sure that you've got believable numbers that you can rely upon, and you know, you can ask the right questions of that data to enable you to make the right decisions. You know, in a lot of businesses are very transactional. Getting that granular data and rolling that up into some kind of measurements that and targets that you can manage is extremely important.
Reshma, were you surprised or even shocked at some of the things you found out about your business that you maybe didn't know about 6 months ago?
To be honest, I've always been very, I say, anal and stringent when it comes to information. My background is corporate restructuring, so I'm a former lawyer. So when it comes to the detail, I was always trying to keep an eye on what's going on financially, what's going on operationally, and in terms of sales as well. Those three teams need to work quite closely together, and it's ultimately my role to make sure they understand what each are doing, so I can forecast, budget, and also invest within the business. And that's this one thing that I've continued to do. And I love data. The more information I get, the better, because as a result of that.
Reshma seems to have left us, but
run out of data.
Maybe she has. I'm sure she'll be back in a moment.
Don't you think as well, though, Jace, like getting the right data, because so many people can go off down these wrong tracks of where they want to try and capture as much as they can, but potentially capture too much. And
yeah, definitely.
Good data, and it's using that data to you know. I mean, what's your thoughts on that, Jace?
I mean. As you know, Charles, but it's a key once kind of and used many situations. So you know, the big thing that we're all about is making sure that we're not duplicating effort. We're not capturing the same data in, you know, half a dozen different systems, because you know, if you should be keying it in once, and then it should be transparently transferred across all systems in your business. That way you've got one single version of the truth. You know, the data is very believable. You know, there's a great phrase that, you know, without the data, you're just another person with an opinion. So, you know, but it's got to be believable. It's got to be captured accurately. So yeah, it's key, I think. And I think the technology platforms that are available now enable that to happen better than it's ever, you know, it's ever happened before, really. And so the integration is key across the various platforms.
Apologies for dropping off the call. Okay. I ended up getting a call through halfway through the call, but yeah, I think what you said, there can also be data overload. So you can be just collating information for the sake of information. So you need to really understand your business and what you need to be able to progress. So having that streamlined information from each team, with everybody knowing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, have set expectations, clear parameters, are going to help you grow. And I work very collaboratively with my teams. I always want somebody to add to what I've already done. It's not a very stringent way of growing this business. If someone in my sales team or my operations team has a good idea, I'm going to listen to it, because we all add to the mix and improve. So data is vital, but getting the right data, and I say there's no point getting data if you're not using it either.
And it's a great point you make about the data overload thing. I mean, you shouldn't have to go looking for an answer. It should be brought to you. So, we really should be managing sort of any of our information by exception. So, we're very keen on proactive alerting. So, having a computer solution inform you of certain things. And this project's just started. We've just closed this piece of business. We think we may have a run on this, because that's the data working for you. That's the data giving you insight that you can then you can take action on and help you to drive your business. If you need to be sifting through reports or through lots of data, it's not a good strategy. So yeah, proactive alerting is a really important thing.
Yeah, and I think when bringing technology into your business, you've got to break them processes down into granular form. You've got to understand what them wastes look like, because lots of people have lots of processes for the sake of a process, where understanding that process right from the start, really break it down, find out whether you need it, and if you do need it and you definitely want it, how do we automate it? So understanding that, and that was a big thing for me. We spent 2-3 months of constantly looking at different processes until we had it right. And then once we had it right, we then started the conversation with Jason and his team, saying, well, how can we automate this part? How can we automate that part? And that's what we're doing. So long term, again, we'll pay dividends if you've got the capital from the off to be able to invest.
Okay, we've got about 5 minutes left. Let's end on a positive then. Tell me about the future of your businesses. Jason, Charles, you just touched on it a little bit there. But taking what you've learned from the past 6 months, data, real life experience, how are you going to use all that for the future of your company? What are you going to do? Charles? Jason, you go first.
Okay, that's fine. I think we're just going to. A bit like Reshma, our business hasn't changed with what's been going on over the last few months. We're just going to carry on how we've always worked, really, which is collaborative, open, flexible. We've got to make sure that the staff are happy, feel included. Have to make sure we don't abuse the situation, the fact that they can be at their desk far earlier and be at their desk far later. We're making sure that we're far more flexible in the way that we work with the staff. Like you say, if people want to take 2 hours for lunch because they've got to do something with the children, that's just fine, as long as the job gets done. But technology is a big thing for us. Obviously, it's our business, and it's changing constantly. It constantly changes. It's an exciting thing, but it's also pretty challenging to keep yourself up to speed with what's constantly moving forward. And all the cloud services that you now can consume means that that change can happen at a rapid pace. But I think the future is bright, I think, for a lot of organisations. The ability to do great things with your data, the ability to integrate these solutions together, to automate processes, to streamline your business, has never been a better time than there is now.
Good stuff. Reshma, you say you're obsessed with data. What did you say? Well, how are you going to take that obsession and to change the future of Octavian?
We're always evolving, and it's always about investment and improving about what we do. So the great thing is the changes we made recently gave all our employees lots of flexibility. They avoided all their long commutes. Again, that impacted on job satisfaction. They had less distractions from the office, and commercially it helped us. It reduced our overheads. Now, that made business sense. I'm going to try and find a happy blend between the two. It's going to be business as usual. Now, we're looking at proposed acquisitions at the moment, and we're looking at other businesses to complement the services we already provide. But what I've learned during this particular time, that we're resilient. And we can get through this, and having all these measures and investments I put in that some people may have thought were very risky before, they were calculated risks, and they've paid dividends for us now.
Good stuff. Charles, what's the future of flooring then?
You know, with any business, I think if you don't involve the tech side now, I think you will get left behind, and I don't think there's a doubt about that. I think, you know, we only have to look, you know, Uber, Domino's, you know, let's just use a couple of, you know, we believe in transparency of a business. We always have. Everything's broken down, so it's very clear from a quotation point of view right the way through the whole process. And I think if you can create a business where you're able to open that up and be very transparent, where there's nothing to hide, then that's what we're doing as a business moving forward. You know, if giving the clients access to your data is a big thing for us moving forward. And as I said, you know, I think within the next 10 years, you'll find that everybody will need to have this in place. I don't think it's going to be avoidable, especially in our market anyway.
Great. Okay, listen, it's been a pleasure to talk to three such progressive, forward-thinking business owners. The 45 minutes has gone very quickly, but thank you to Jason, thank you to Charles, and thank you to Reshma, and thank you to Probrand for sponsoring today. And thanks for everybody who tuned in, and we'll see you next time. Thanks very much.